Thank you very much for inviting me here. Good morning to all of you. It is a very, very special day, and I hope we could celebrate this day with the same spirit as September 11th, 1883 was meant for India. It was a turning point in many ways. As Professor you rightly pointed out, it gave this country the courage, the conviction, the clarity that India matters, and that led to the independence movement of India. Because, as you rightly pointed out, before that, India was confused, India felt inferior, India lost touch with its own philosophy, and the outside world looked at India as a place of snake charmers, as you rightly pointed out, as a place which is disturbed, confused, and dirty. That was the image of India. Now, the point that I would like to share with you is that it really needs one man. If it is to be, it's up to me to make a difference. And Swami Vivekananda is definitely one great example of that. That we often say, what can I do? It is up to them, it's the government, it is the people around me. But we never say, if it is to be, it is up to me. I think Swami Vivekananda literally exhibited that spirit in each and every talks, each and every walks, in each and every acts, in each and every teachings, and everything that he did in a short span of 40 years. So many of you are still in the early 20s, so we've got another 20 years. For me, I've crossed 40. I still ask, how could I spend the next 40 years as Swami Vivekananda did during his lifetime? And obviously, we have got much more resources, much more information. India today is significantly better known. I would not say perfectly known. And yet, we do often forget we are a poor country. There is a feeling that we are the third largest economy. It really doesn't mean anything. Because 1.5 billion people, if you add $1,000 per person, it becomes a $1.5 trillion economy. So when people think in terms of 5 trillion, 3 trillion, and celebrate that, I feel how weak we are in understanding the facts and figures which should really represent who we are. So many ways, today being the celebration of his birthday, I think we should step back, understand where the civilization is, where we are as a country. What does Vedanta really teach? Of course, I'll find it a bit nervous talking about Vedanta in front of Professor Singh. But there are common denominators between Vivekananda, Shahana Singh, and myself. We were all from Calcutta. I often wonder that maybe we should do some research on Calcutta, that what kind of ferment in Calcutta creates these new thoughts, whether it's Vivekananda or Tagore or Bankim Chatterjee or Aurobindo Ghosh or Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Maybe there's something in the soil where the city is always frustrated, but yet revolting. And I think we need that revolutionary spirit which Calcutta exhibited over the last 200 years. So I thought in today's talk, I'll try to answer 4 questions. The first question would be, what is Vedanta? Now obviously Vedanta, to describe in a short, I will spend maybe 5 minutes, which was 5,000 years of work, is not easy. But on the other side, in name of clarity, the word that you have perfectly used, it is important that we take away what are the 5 or 6 things that Vedanta really represent, and are we really reflecting that in our etiquettes and behavior? Then it makes sense. If we just talk and use the Sanskrit slokas and feel good about it, it's not good enough. I think it is only good when each and every moment in our life we are celebrating Vivekananda through our acts, the way we work, the way we dedicate ourselves, and how we commit ourselves. And that is, unfortunately, I would say, is highly missing in our country. And that is immoral. On one side, talking about Vedantic philosophy. On the other side, we are talking about Vivekananda. We are talking about IKS. We have started the Academy of Leadership at IIT Kharagpur. I think talking, we have to stop. It is important to start walking with the basic philosophy of Vivekananda and Vedanta. So first, that would be my first question. Second question I'll try to answer would be, how does Swami Vivekananda's life truly reflect the teachings of Vivekananda and how I see him as the embodiment of Vedanta and Vedic philosophy, true expression of Vedic philosophy. And how did that happen? And mind you, he was not invited. You said he was invited to Chicago. He was not invited. He found a way to get invited. And that's, I'll spend some time, that if you have that commitment, he was just a young boy by the name of Naren Datta. He was perhaps, only about 29 years old. He was not invited, but he found a way to get that 2-3 minutes, of which 1 minute was taken away by claps, and then he had 2 minutes 58 seconds to give a speech, and he mesmerized the audience in front of him. So it's possible. And Vivekananda would say, each one of you could do that. But then we have to be able to connect with ourselves. So I would like to spend some time that how the Vedantic philosophy and Vedanta got expressed in the life and words and thoughts of Vivekananda. The third point I want to talk about, put Vedantic philosophy and Vivekananda's each act in the context of 5 messages which I take from the Vedas. Particularly the first one, which comes out of Rig Veda, in the beginning is desire. If each one of you have truly the desire to become like Vivekananda, you will. But then you have to have that genuine desire. It cannot be an artificial desire. On this particular day, we talk about Vivekananda, and then we go out and behave differently. Then I think we are being, I would use the word immoral, we are being unethical. So I would like to spend some time on that. And the fourth point I will like to really spend a lot of time, and Sahana, you will excuse me, I may take some time away from you, but I would like to talk about 7 imperatives that each one of us must practice every second of our lives. I'll try to bring Vedanta and Vivekananda into 7 things that we must do to become a representation of Vedantic philosophy, which Vivekananda was. So first, when I look at Vedanta in a very, very simple way, the message is very clear, extremely clear. It talks about the nature of the self, the Atma, and emphasizes the importance of understanding Atma, yourself, self-realization, through your work, through your thoughts, through your act, and its oneness with Brahma. It believes in non-duality, that the God within you, the divinity within you, is there, and it is connected with the universe, the Brahma. And that oneness, I think, is the fundamental teaching that Vivekananda also expressed in his thoughts. So that is the first thing I would like to sort of spend some time. So before we delve into the teachings of Vivekananda, let me take a moment to reflect on the life and the work of the great spiritual person Vivekananda was, and how did he develop. Many of you may know that if you grow up in Calcutta, it's very difficult to see anyone's wall without the picture of Vivekananda. I grew up watching Vivekananda's picture in shops, in the walls of our friends of our parents, walls of schools, colleges, you see Vivekananda all the time. So it's very difficult to not to know about Vivekananda if you're growing up in Bengal, in Calcutta, but I would like to believe all over the country. But particularly in Calcutta, all the calendars will typically have a picture of Vivekananda or Ramakrishna, Sharada Boima, and Vivekananda. That's the typical image. So obviously, my connection with Vivekananda emerged at a very young age. But so, my mother, when he used to talk about Vivekananda, what I learned, that Vivekananda grew up in a very interesting ways in North Calcutta, very close to, by the way, where Rabindranath Tagore grew up. Maybe their homes were about 1.5 kilometers or less. Vivekananda was born in 1863. Rabindranath Tagore was born in 1861. And I often wonder how great it must have been when two such great persons, and Aurobindo was not too far away, who was another 10 years later. He grew up a little bit of South Calcutta on the street called Kamak Street, but they're all within 2 kilometers radius. Now, what I understood, Vivekananda, when he was growing up, when he was a young kid, Narendatta, his mother used to read Ramayana and Mahabharata every day. So that created in him the interest of what is Indian philosophy all about, what is Gita all about, what is Mahabharata, Ramayana, but with a questioning mind. He did not accept what mother was saying. He was trying to understand and continuously questioning. His father was an advocate, was a lawyer, and apparently they had 6 or 7 hookahs in the chamber. And they were designed for Brahmins. If the Brahmin client comes, they will have a certain kind of hookah. If someone who is a Sudra, he will have another kind of hookah. If he was a Christian, another kind of hookah. And as Narendatta felt, they all look same, the hookahs all look same, but why different person have to have different hookahs? So one morning, before his father got up, he tried to taste each of the hookahs to see whether they're different. So he had that spirit. And then father noticed and he was very upset. And he asked the father, why do you have to have 6 when all the people look same, the hookahs taste same? That he started realizing the oneness at that age, but yet with a questioning mind. Then as he was growing up, as you know, he went to Scottish Church College, which is one of the prestigious colleges that time, with Presidency College in Calcutta. And there he started getting exposed to Western philosophy, the Kant, Emmanuel, the Greek philosophy, the Roman philosophy, and he was deep into it while he was studying the Upanishads and Gitas and trying to develop a comparative picture. That what is it that we do not do, they do, because he was also worried about that India is controlled by the British, by the outsiders. Some segments are extremely poor, some segments are very rich. He was worried about that. So that led to another second set of questions. What is our philosophy, what is their philosophy, and why we are the subservient to the Western world? Very important question. And then that time mind you, he's in his very early 20s or late teens, like most of you here. But he's asking such questions, and then he couldn't find the answer, but the questioning continues. He started wandering around. There's a book called Wandering Monk. He shaved off his hair. He was 21 years old. He started his journey from Bengal, went to Orissa, all the way to Tamil Nadu, went up the Western Ghats, went to Maharashtra, Gujarat, all the western frontier, close to Afghanistan, Kandahar, went to Kashmir, came down UP, back to Bengal. And with only one purpose. One, to understand what is India all about, the diversity of India. And on the other side, to talk to the various monks and sages to understand, is there God? Who is God? What is God? And if you are such great sage in this country, how come so many people are suffering? How come we are not a free country? So he had these fundamental questions, never gave up on looking for the answer, looking for clarity. And finally the breakthrough happened back in Calcutta when he met Ramakrishna. When he met Ramakrishna, that was literally an inflection point, which led to a new Vivekananda emerging, which has got significantly more courage. That C I may add, or as you have. His character becoming more clear. And Ramakrishna and Vivekananda, Narendatta dialogues are very interesting. But clearly, he developed a new sense of confidence that he has a role to play for the country. Now, unfortunately, Ramakrishna moved on to the next world before the Chicago event. But his wife, Sharada Ma, whom everyone used to call Ma in Bengal, also a very spiritual person, she encouraged that, look, there's a parliament of religions happening. She knew about it. And maybe you should find a way to speak. I said, who will invite me? Who knows about me? But then he went around the country raising funds to buy the ticket. And then he took a ship from Bombay through Yokohama to Seattle, then go to Chicago, having raised the funds. You guys talk about raising venture capital fund. That's the first venture capital fund he raised. And that was the real venture. And he raised the fund very elegantly from various landlords, jamindars in Bengal, from southern India, and some, I think, from Rajasthan. He got some support to buy the ticket. As luck would have it, in this trip, I think Jamshedji Tata was in the same trip in the plane. And he talked about, you're building industry, but where is the research? We should be able to innovate our own solutions to our problems. Why we are importing? And that triggered the thought about setting up the Indian Institute of Fundamental Research, or Tata Research Center. Similarly, he goes on to Chicago, and there he has no place to stay. He used to stay in such a cold weather in the train station in a cardboard box. And then he came across a young woman who said, "Young man, what are you doing here?" He said, "Madam, I've come here to speak to this Parliament of Religions." "Oh, that's 2 months away. But have they invited you to speak?" "No, madam, not." He said, "Look, it's very difficult to even find a chair to be in the audience, and how do you claim you'll be a speaker?" But as the dialogue happened, it became very clear to this woman that he must be a very special person. So she invited him to come to Chicago on the shore home and introduced him to her husband. Her husband was very impressed. He said, "I know a professor at the Divinity School at Harvard University. Maybe he can help you." And he is one of the members of the organizing committee of the first Parliament of Religions. So they bought a ticket for him to go to Boston. Now, I live in Boston, so I got another connection with Vivekananda. So went to Boston, went to Harvard University, met with the dean of the Divinity School, Dean Wright. The Dean Wright, first we had some question, who is this joker? Again, that image that you described from India, doesn't know anything, brown color skin, but he was very handsome. As you could see, he was very good looking. So he entered the room, and then within 5 minutes he was very impressed. So immediately Dean Wright wrote that if anyone qualifies to be a speaker in the first Parliament of Religion is this young man from India, Narendranath Datta. As luck would have it, on his way back to Chicago, he lost that letter also. But somehow there was, those days the telegram appeared, he got the letter, he was very reluctantly given by the organizing committee only 5 minutes to speak on September 11th after lunch. And he was a bit worried after lunch, people were a bit sleepy, some people not show up. So that is, I think I want to touch on it, Vivekananda was all about, led to his speech. And as you know, he started by saying, "Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable." Joy unspeakable to represent a religion, to represent a country, millions of people. And you could see in that touch the commitment, the love for the country, the love for the religion. In fact, I would like to read that because that's the spirit of Vedantic philosophy, actually. He said, "I'm proud to belong to a religion which has taught the world," mark the word, at a time when every other speaker came there to speak about their own religion. There was Christian speakers, Jewish speakers, Zoroastrians, and there were other Hindu speakers also. They were literally representing the institutions. He came on his own. He was just there as a lone ranger, if you will, on his own. And he took Indian philosophy at a different level by just few statements. And then in the same paragraph, he also said, look at his sense of patriotism. "I am proud to belong to a nation which has sheltered the persecuted and refugees of all religions and all nations of the earth." And he talked about the Parsis, he talked about the people who came from different parts of the world to India, and India welcomed them with an open mind. So the point I wanted to say that in short, he really was representing India, and he felt it was his responsibility to take India literally in his laps and position it on the global stage. And that power came because of the Vedantic philosophy, and that's what I want to get into my point number 2. What are the different elements of Vedantic philosophy that we must celebrate so that you could identify the Vivekananda in you? That's the meaning of this meeting. The meaning of this meeting is not another lecture. Shana delivers brilliant lectures, you will listen. I do not give too many brilliant lectures, but you will listen. But the listening would be useful if you can convert that into real action. So my hope is, in celebration of Vivekananda's birthday, we would spend some time to understand how could you reflect the teachings of Vedantic philosophy in your day-to-day act. So the first point, as you know, which I have taken 5 points from Vedic philosophy. Firstly, the unity of the Atma and Brahma. Think about it, unity of Atma with Brahma. Atma is yourself, Brahma is God, the universe, and that unity, how do you celebrate that? What does it mean? Think about it, what does it mean? I think to me it means 2 things. One is that you are an integral part of this universe. You have a tremendous responsibility to feel that. That's point number 1. Point number 2, anything that you do wrong, you're not only hurting yourself, you're hurting the whole ecosystem. The ecosystem is a favorite word these days. People use it all the time. But I'm using the ecosystem in the way we used to use 30 years ago, the real ecosystem of the world. So I think that's the first point, and I think I like to share with you what Vivekananda used to say. You know, during his speech, he emphasized the oneness, and what did he say? We believe not only in the universal tolerance, but we accept all religions as true. The message of unity and universalism echoes, as far as I see, in the Vedantic truth, and that all the paths of the same realization ultimately leads to realization of divinity, realization of the universe. In fact, in the speech he said beautifully, and he had that tremendous ability to take this sophisticated concept and talk in common language. He said, I'm quoting him, as the different streams having their sources in different places all mingle their water in the sea, so, O Lord, the different paths which we men take, though different with different tendencies, various though they appear, some straight, some crooked, all lead to thee. Now that was in the second minute in the Chicago speech. And immediately again the claps went up, but he had to hold them down because claps were taking more time than the speech that he was delivering. So that's the first point, how Vivekananda expressed the unity of Atma and Brahma. The second point is divinity within every human being. The Vivekananda used to say, I'll first quote in Bengali, Shana, you may understand. She used to say, Jibe prem kore jei jon, shei jon shebiche ishwar. How many of you know Bengali? Okay, 1. Anyway, it means the people who really love humanity or serve people, they are serving God. As simple as that. And that's how he celebrated. And his whole life was to serve people. And he set up such a great institution. By the way, you'll be very proud. He was perhaps the first person in the world, other than the Vatican, that was created a long time ago, to set up a multinational organization before the Shell, before the British Petroleum, which had local representation, which we call multi-global organization. And that happened in his 40 years. He set up New York, he set up Paris, London, and of course headquartered in Belur-Mott. And today we have Vedanta centers all over the world. In fact, recently I was in Tokyo, in Kamakura, and wherever you go, in Hollywood there's Vedanta Center, in Berkeley there's Vedanta Center, in Massachusetts we have got 3 Vedanta centers. So, this was the kind of person which was possible. I mean, as you could see. The next point that he made, or the Vedantic philosophy makes, nature of Maya and illusion of the world. I made some notes, let me explain you, otherwise I'll go on for too long. Vedanta explains the concept of Maya as illusionary nature of the world. What we see as reality, our experiences, our identities, and the material world is not the ultimate truth. It is temporary and changing, veiling the eternal and unchanging reality of Brahma. So the ultimate truth is Brahma, but we get taken away by the veils, by the limited definition of what I call the ecosystem, forgetting the bigger ecosystem. Swami Vivekananda conveyed the idea of Maya through the emphasis of detachment and renunciation. He didn't ask people to abandon the world, but in fact he asked people to work. Be a good student, be a good husband, be a good wife, be a good worker. But focus on the work, stay detached from the outcome. And that he practiced. And that's why he was able to do so much. Because when you get too much attached to the outcome, when the failures happen, you get upset. Very important for venture firms. And when successes happen, you get too excited. But if you focus on doing the quality work and enjoy the process, which Vivekananda did, you do not care about the outcome. So be it. But you are focused on the process. And that's what is the fundamental teaching of Gita. I'm sure Shana will talk about it. The fourth point is self-liberalization and liberation, if you will. Liberation of the mind, which in Sanskrit we call moksha. Moksha. So again, I will talk about some notes I've written. The ultimate goal of Vedanta is the realization of the self, which leads to liberation or moksha. Now, Vivekananda used to express it in his words. You are the soul of the universe. It's a very fundamental message. You are the soul of the universe, and you are the infinite being that is not bound by time or space. That is not bound by time or space. Each one of you here. You are already free. The only thing you need to do is to realize that freedom. For Vivekananda, self-realization was key to freedom, liberation from the mental constructs and the illusion of separation from the divine. Very important point. Often we become too cautious. We want to be diplomatic. We do not want to upset the other individual. In the process, we compromise the truth. And that is where I think we are not again following the Vedantic philosophy. You believe in moksha. You want to be truthful. You want to liberate yourself by focusing on the act and only the act which you are responsible for. So I'm trying to bring some practical aspect because all of us are doing something in our day-to-day life. So that is moksha to me. And the final point is service to humanity as an expression of Vedanta. Now, one of the most remarkable aspects of Swami Vivekananda is the emphasis he put on selfless service. If you look at the creation of both Ramakrishna Mission, the Vedanta Center, and many other institutions that he contributed to, including Rockefellers. Rockefeller started the Rockefeller Foundation because of the interaction he had with John D. Rockefeller and Swami Vivekananda when he visited Cleveland after the Chicago speech. He influenced Tata. But it is not to control them, not to make them do something which is for his own interest. It is for the service of humanity. So not only did he set up this Vedanta Center and Ramakrishna Mission, he helped others to set up institutions to service of humanity. That's what's Vivekananda. Now, given that, I would like to talk on the final point, which is that point I'm spending a lot of time these days. It is true, thanks to the current government, that we are talking a lot about Hinduism, we are talking about Vedicism, we are talking about Vishwaguru, we are talking about the greatness of the past. But, that talk can only mean something when we can convert that into our actions, behaviors, and etiquettes. So I'd like to share with you 7 imperatives that each one of us must practice if we really want to practice Vedantic philosophy or the teachings of Vivekananda. The first thing that I would like to focus on is inquisitiveness. There are 5 nesses. I'll talk about inquisitiveness, unboundedness, timeliness, selflessness, holiness, cleanliness, and graciousness. If each one of us can follow these 7 nesses, I think we'll see a different world. So let me touch on each one of them. By inquisitiveness, I really mean that as you expand the knowledge, particularly in an engineering school like this, the boundaries surrounding the knowledge, the circumference, is only increasing. That means we are getting more and more exposed to the unknown. To be able to capture that unknown areas, I think we have to have the spirit of inquisitiveness. Similarly, to know the universe within, we talk about self-realization, you have to be truly curious. What is within the universe? You know, we are talking about quantum computing, we are talking about AI 2.0, AI 3.0. Why is it all happening in the United States? It's people like you at MIT, Caltech are developing things like OpenAI, different concepts of GenAI. Now the new concept is AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. Now, why is that is happening not in India? Why is it happening in the United States? We do it after it has happened there. I would like to see that spirit of being able to challenge the boundaries. And that is, again, what Swami Vivekananda was all about, Vedantic philosophy talks about. Second one, I would like to talk about unboundedness. That when the professor was talking about courage and clarity, that can be only expressed when we can go beyond the boundaries, where we can think out of the box to come up with solutions. That is also Vedantic philosophy all about, because we are talking about connecting the Atma with the Brahma, that we have to think beyond the physical boundaries. We are not doing that. We typically try to think in terms of format. Whenever I go to such schools, the first question people ask, Mr. Ghosh, how can we get into McKinsey and Company? I said, I'm not here to talk about McKinsey and Company. I'm here more to see what could you do to find who you are. In the process, you can create 10 McKinseys. Third is timeliness. You know, the biggest gift and the only gift that we have is the time. And time once lost is lost forever. It will not come back to you. And we have all limited period between when we are born and when we pass away. But if we are so careless with time, which we are in this country, I think how could this country move forward? And Vedantic philosophy is all about honoring your role in the universe within that span of time. Though Vedantic philosophy also says that you move on to the next and the next, but within that span of time when you're physically present, you have to find a way to make time more valuable. Fourth, selflessness. Typically, as you could see in our country, I see it all the time, people have become increasingly more selfish. You stand in the line, if there's some space, someone will come in front of you. It's happening all the time. Maybe some of us also do the same thing. People get angry very easily. But if you're truly selfless, we are here to serve others, be part of a bigger purpose, then obviously those kind of acts would disappear. Finally, the fifth point is holiness. Now this is my favorite term, which I call respect, nishtha, or shraddha in work that you do. Then I felt that way when I first visited a Japanese factory in a small island called Kyushu, in a place called Imari, where they're making ceramic porcelain. And Imari, many of you may know, the best porcelains of the world come from Japan. And some of these vases are sold for $100,000. But the person that I watched was 15th generation potter. His personal value is about $5 billion. But he's sitting on the floor with about 500 others. It's a big shop, factory. They're all working on making the vases. But first thing that I came to my mind, as if each one is in the middle of a prayer, in the middle of a literally meditation, making the vase with complete nishtha, complete shraddha, and that is the only thing that he cares. Now just think about it. If we are working on a mathematical equation, we are solving a problem of physics or chemistry or whatever we are doing, we can do with that kind of nishtha, you will see a different world. You're not doing it because you want to get a grade or not doing it because you want to get a job, but the work that you're doing, then that is, you have the complete nishtha. That's what I call the holiness. The sixth point I have is cleanliness. If you look in our country, I've been traveling in this trip from Amritsar to Jalandhar to Ludhiana, then I was in Tamil Nadu, I was in Kanyakumari, I was in Trivandrum. What is the common denominator, you think? Beautiful highways, but on both sides of the highways, what do I see? Garbage. Who is creating the garbage? It's you and me. We throw the pipes, we throw the bulbs, we throw the plastic bottles, and that is, well, not do. If you go to a Japanese factory, even the most difficult factories like steel plant, the floor is as clean as this. I went in the front of a blast furnace long time ago, and the chairman of the company, Nippon Steel, was showing me around. He stopped there, he said, this is the best blast furnace in the world, most productive. I saw the nameplate established in 1935. 1935, I'm looking at the blast furnace in 1982. That's the best blast furnace. I said, how did you achieve that? Every year we do debottlenecking, we find what is the rate determining step, remove that, and move on to the next one. In the process, this has turned out the best blast furnace. But what I particularly noted, there was not a speck of dust, not a speck of oil. Only thing that you could see the oil on the machines or the extruders and nowhere else. You go to an Indian factory, you just see a totally different picture. Go to an Indian kitchen, go to an Indian bathroom, you see a different picture. So we have to work on that. And final point I would like to talk about is graciousness. You know, if we believe in Vedic philosophy and if we want the people to appreciate it, you know, a lot of people would not understand Sanskrit. A lot of people would not understand Brahma and Atma. But what will they see is our behavior. So absolutely, Professor was right. India's image was bad pre-Vivekananda speech. Why? It is our behavior. Forget the British ruling us. That shouldn't have also happened. But our general approach to life was such that it was not something that you could be proud of. That's something we could change. So I'd like to end with only one message where I started. Vivekananda was all about, if it is to be, it is up to me. Now, if you believe that we can want to celebrate the fundamental teachings of Vedic philosophy, it's up to us to make it happen. You cannot ask someone else that somehow it will happen because someone else is talking about. You know, we are talking about clean Bharat, Atmanirbhar Bharat, but how will that happen if, you know, Modi cannot go to every street and start cleaning the roads if we are dirtying it? The Chief Minister cannot do that. Prime Minister cannot do that. Similarly, Atmanirbhar Bharat, what does it mean? It means believing in yourself, self-realization, courage. That Sigma Atmanirbhar Bharat, Sigma Atmanirbhar, 1.5 billion people leads to Atmanirbhar Bharat. So I would like to end with one key message that is high time. Where the world is, India has a role to play. But we cannot talk about, oh, we are the Vishwaguru. There's no point talking about it. It sounds like a joke. We can behave in such a way, people will admire us. That's what people do about Japan. Anyone who has visited Japan, they admire Japan. Why? They're not talking about any Sanskrit slokas, but they're practicing Vedic philosophy every day. The 3 H's are in harmony. What are the H's? The head, the heart, and the hand. In this country, people are working with hand. They have not gone to school, so they do not have the understanding what is the clean room means. And people who are working in universities, they don't want to touch the broom because that's not my job. And many of us are missing the heart. So I think I will end with one simple message. Time has come that we really reflect the Vedic philosophy and the life that Vivekananda led with this spirit of if it is to be, is up to me. And in the process, bring the 3 H's together: the head, the heart, and the hand. You will see a different India emerging. But we have to really work on it, each one of us. With that, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity.